Hey guys, as you're watching this video, our vision is to reach 500,000 subscribers. Hit the subscribe button, join membership to support our channel, join Patreon and PayPal. All the links are in the description. Do that to stand with us for this beautiful cause of One Africa right now. We do not forget to sign up for the petition. The link is down below. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is the journey to One Africa. Hey everybody, this is Mika and welcome back to SNOA. Guys, if you're new to this family, I want to encourage you guys to like this video, subscribe and follow us on social media. All the details are in the description. Guys, it has been a very long time for me to come here actually to do a video like this. I would say it could be more than a year for me to do a reaction. And when I come here to do reaction, you guys have to know that it's very important video or content that I feel like we need to emphasize upon. We're doing a lot of our content, but also we share content of others for the sake of our people to be aware. All right, the greatest weapon that we could have us as Africans is knowledge, is understanding. And the greatest weapon that can be used against us is ignorance. And so I'm here today to do a reaction on one of the very important videos that my brother Wode just released. And I think it is very important to emphasize upon. I'll be doing a reaction on it. I'll be watching with you guys and also sharing my thoughts. And you guys, you can share your thoughts on in the comment section as well. The video goes by the name of "No Black People Allowed in South Africa's White Only Town." I think these kind of contents, we don't really see them often out there, but I want to applaud my brother Wode for such encouragement to go down to this town and to actually make this content. I've seen a little bit of the trailer, and I gotta say that my brother, he brought the show, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's been really hard on this. I love the question he asked, and I love this conversation. It's not really easy conversation. If you're watching this, you might seem like, okay, it's just, no. But, you know, having this conversation in a place like this is not really easy. So kudos to you, my brother. We're so proud of you. Keep representing Africa and keep sharing the stories that we can learn from, and perhaps we can make a little bit of change. So as you watch this, my purpose is not to stir up anger in the hearts of Africans, but my purpose is that for you guys to know what is happening, so that we may decolonize our mind and we may know what is the next step to take. I always say this, that Africans, you don't have friends. All right, don't be fooled. You don't have friends. Whether you know, people are living in your continent or outside of your continent, you don't have friends. The area we accept that, the area we are going to get free from whatever that is going on in this continent. All right, don't fool yourself even for a second to think that someone loves you out there. No, no, no. We got ourselves, and we have to get each other's back. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing we can do to secure our children's future. But if we don't get that fact as soon as possible, I'm really concerned that the truth will come out. Whether now or later, it will come out. And I hope it's not too late for Africans. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to watch this video together and I'll do a reaction to it. And I hope you guys can enjoy. Okay, let's jump right into it.
I'm in love with Orania.
Yes.
Can I stay in here?
You're not Afrikaner.
Afrikaners are descendants of Dutch settlers who arrived at the Cape of Good Hope on a boat in the year 1652. Would you say that Orania is a controversial town in South Africa?
Orania is definitely. I don't have to doubt it. I know that Orania is controversial.
Orania. What is happening? Can somebody answer?
Section 235 of the South African Constitution acknowledges the right of cultural groups to self-determination. But what about the Afrikaner enclave of Orania, which also uses race to determine who can be allowed to live in that community?
The main reason why it's controversial is misperception. I think so, it's my personal opinion. Misperception about Orania. The people who have the most to say about Orania have never visited.
Just say a prayer for my city. Just say a prayer for my city.
And what are your favorite things about Orania?
Have you ever seen a 16 or 17-year-old girl walk around 9 o'clock at night? Anywhere in South Africa?
It's not common.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have burglar guards. And if they leave a bike somewhere, tomorrow morning it's still there.
Would you agree with me if I say that this man performed a lot of atrocities in the past?
It's our history.
But I know it's your history, but at the end of the day, a lot of people were harmed in the process. You don't think if you are embracing this, you're definitely embracing apartheid?
Is it okay to celebrate Shaka Zulu leader? Do you know who that is?
I know who Shaka Zulu is.
He killed a lot of people. Is it fine to celebrate him?
That's a question for South Africans.
That is a question. This is a question for Oranians.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
I don't even know how to feel right now. Should I tell you guys that I'm super scared? Because I'm about to do one of the craziest videos that I've never dreamt of. This particular video will definitely go down as one of my most sensitive vlogs ever. I mean, I'm currently in Cape Town, driving to a town that so many South Africans don't want to hear about. I mean, if I talk about South Africans, I'm talking about Black South Africans, indigenous South Africans, people that were here before the settlers came in here. I believe that most of you have heard of the town. In my whole lifetime, I never thought I would come across a town within the land of black people where blacks are not allowed to live in there. People out there believe that Orania is a racist model. Do you believe that whatever you guys are practicing here is racism?
No.
So what is it then?
It's a culture town. It's a culture town. It's an Afrikaner town. The narrative is out there that if you preserve your culture, you're racist, and that's not true.
But I don't think an African can leave Africa, go to Europe, and say that we just bought this land, and no one is allowed to come in. In this town, it's whites only. If I have to decode the whites only, I'm talking about Africans only. So if you're a black man like me, you cannot stay there.
We say Orania is a community for Afrikaners. It's not an issue just white in, black out. It's a question of culture.
But someone might ask, if you want to preserve your culture, you're preserving your culture on a land that belongs to South Africans.
Well, that is whole nother debate.
If that is the case, then let's bring the other debate.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa.
White South Africans make up about 8% of the population, but they hold about 3/4 of privately owned land in the country. In contrast, only 4% of privately held land is owned by Black South Africans, who make up nearly 80% of the country's 60 million residents.
I'm sure that you guys know that white people were not originally from South Africa. Like, they migrated in the late 17th century from Netherlands, France, England, Germany, in short, from Europe. I mean, they were immigrants in South Africa, but they forcefully colonized the people. Actually, no. They enslaved the owners of the land, the Black South Africans. This is something that Donald Trump doesn't know, by the way, so you're welcome.
Of the decision.
Last month, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law a bill that allows the government to expropriate property for public purposes or in the public interest, in some cases without compensation.
Well, I don't think land expropriation without compensation is a good idea. I think if you realistically look at the amount of land that the South African government has, that the big communities like the Kunyama Trust have and so on. I think the land is not the problem. The problem in South Africa is economic problem, and there's actually been research done on that, proving that people don't necessarily want land, they want a better economic future. Most people don't want to be farmers. To farm is a tough job, it's not a very rewarding job in terms of money and so on. I also think that the South African economy will collapse if there is land expropriation without compensation.
Interesting. And I want to include you in this conversation, so let me know what you think in the comment section, but don't forget to like this video because it's very important to me.
Welcome back. Orania, an Afrikaner-only town in South Africa, has weighed in on the US President Donald Trump's order halting financial aid to South Africa and offering refugee status to Afrikaners.
But this is what the Afrikaners think about Trump's offer.
We are not necessarily interested in tax dollars and handouts and help. What we want, we already got to an extent. We want recognition. We want recognition from abroad, we want recognition locally, and we want recognition from our peers. That is to say, firstly, those people are a people upon themselves, and this, they have the right to make certain decisions for themselves. That is what we want. We don't want people's money, we don't want people's handouts. We as Orania want larger recognition, greater recognition. And I think that is not too much to ask. Actually, I think that's very reasonable.
And probably you might be wondering, what do Black South Africans feel about this?
Orania can't be a Volksstaat. It is actually what I consider to be a micronation. It's just like a small, considered, it has certain independencies. They have their own currency.
It is, yeah. You know, when I picked up on that, I realized that there's a measure of sovereignty that is not complete.
Yes.
You guys might be wondering, how did I got to know about this town within South Africa? So recently I found myself in South America on a project of connecting Africans in the diaspora with Africans living in Africa. So I found myself in Suriname, and I came across this village called Dahomey. And within Dahomey, no white person is allowed in this village. So out of curiosity, I was like, you know what? I need to go find out why no white person is allowed. I was told that no white people are allowed in this village. Is that true?
Yeah.
Why?
The spirit that they have here is a warrior spirit who fought against the European in the slavery time. And every time that the warrior spirit see white people, he get aggressive, so they want to fight. That's why they don't allow white people to come here.
What will happen if a white person comes here?
That.
And when I released the video, the next video that came into my feed was a video of a friend of mine, by the way. His name is Joshua. He's a YouTuber based in Cape Town, talking about this town within Africa that no black person is allowed in there. And I'm like, you know what? They say curiosity kills a cat, right? So I guess with the African audience that I have, I personally want to go there as an African, as a black man, just to understand what is the motive behind it. Bro, like literally they have everything in here. Wow. I made it to Orania, and believe me or not, this is not the Orania that I was expecting. Because when I got here, I found a country within South Africa. Are we looking at the Republic of Orania?
I think there's different levels to freedom. I think our dream, we as Afrikaners, we love republics. We've created maybe about 20 in South Africa. Only 2 of them survived long term. It was the Republic of the Transvaal and the Free State. So we are people who love republics. Our ideal form of government is a republic. And I hope that one day, maybe my children will see it.
Good morning, or should I say sunrise, from Orania. Today is actually my first day waking up from Orania, and it was such a peaceful night. But it's kind of crazy to know that I'm the only black man in here. I mean, it's so crazy knowing that you just woke up in a white-only town.
We feel so patriotic about our community, so proud. It's still small, you know, But we're so proud of the things that we have achieved.
Today, Orania operates like its own micronation. The town of about 3,000 people run its own economy, and one of the backbones of their economy is agriculture.
Do you guys export this?
Yes. So we sell it outside, it brings money into our economy. Another interesting thing, obviously, is that here we can do something that a lot of farmers can't do, and that is we can plant 2 harvests in 1 year. So we plant the wheat in the summer. Just before Christmas, this is harvested. It's plowed very quickly, and the farmers work 20 hours a day to get it done. They harvest, they plow, they plant, and then it's maize. So your next harvest is maize, and you harvest that in the winter. In June, July, and when that goes out, you've got a short time to put in the wheat again. So
all the farmers live in Orania?
Obviously, there's farms surrounding Orania as well. Okay. This is an Orania farmer, this one.
So who owns this farm?
An individual farmer owns it. It is part of Orania, but an individual farmer owns this land, and the farmer works it for their own benefit and revenue and takes the risks for themselves.
It's really mind-blowing to see a town with just 3,000 people owning their own solar farm. Does it mean that, like, you guys don't depend on the national grid?
We're still connected to the national grid.
Yeah.
So at the moment we're approximately 45% independent from the utility, and the dream is to go the whole way.
What is the idea behind this whole solar farm, and which year did it begin?
It began in 2021.
Recent.
Recently.
Very recent. What is the main reason why you established your own solar farm, knowing that you live within South Africa?
The main reason for Orania is that we want to be, from the start of Orania, we wanted to be independent on many levels. And one level is energy. Our energy, if you're not energy independent, you're not free.
What makes you feel so proud as an Oranian? Should I say Oranian or South African?
You're Oranian. We're Oranians. We're in South Africa. We're not loose from South Africa. They are our neighbors. We pay taxes in South Africa. But we're proud Oranians.
Schools in Orania do not teach in English as the rest of South Africa, but rather Afrikaans. Do you have a school in here?
We have two high schools, primary and secondary, and then we also have a college, tertiary training. We are dreaming to build our own Afrikaans university.
And you teach in Afrikaans?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Everything we do is Afrikaans, and studies show that children who are taught in their mother tongue perform better.
GoDaddy makes it fast and easy with user-friendly products and tools to help you on your entrepreneurship.
And children who are taught in another language like
Are you against the educational system in South Africa?
Well, I'm definitely against the Bella law that's currently being implemented.
What is that?
That is a law that gives the state control of the schools rather than the parents of the schools. So we're very much against that. I think it's the state grabbing the power of schools, taking away people's rights. There's a lot of religious issues with that. There's lots of cultural issues with that. So South Africans are actually very angry about that. That's why the schools that we built here, we get zero state funding. We don't get a cent from the government. And it's also not expensive. So all the extra money that we need for our schools, we have to raise with projects.
So does it mean that like all the people that study in this school are from Orania? Do you get people out of Orania?
Just, surrounding farms and so on also come here. And then the college, tertiary training, people from around the country also come to study here.
You can study here, but you can't live in here.
Well, they can. All of them can apply for the right to citizenship in Orania, definitely.
Citizenship? The college in Orania don't believe in theory only, but rather practicals, because they believe that the children are the ones that will be able to build the future of Orania. You have a college in Orania?
we identified the need to train our people in physical skills. Plumbing, electrical work and masonry to build houses, and that's called skills. And that's why we started the college. In 2019 we had only 5 students, 2020 50, and now there's about 124. We're expecting more than 200 next year.
So this is more like a plumbing practical class?
Yes.
Wow.
So the first groups of students made everything, and now the second and third and fourth generation, they get to use everything the first guys built.
Their life becomes easier.
No, these tables, they built it with the lecturers.
Wow. I'm really impressed with the infrastructure development in Orania, because a town of about 3,000 people got their own airstrip, and every single road that you see in this town was actually built and financed by the people. What do you do in Orania?
My responsibility is the growth of Orania. In other words, in Orania we don't get any money from the government. We are responsible to create our own economy and your own wealth. So my responsibility is to make sure where is the certain areas that needs to address, and then we address our areas. What we are doing, we have various projects. This is just an example of a few projects that we currently busy. If you just go outside, you'll see we're currently busy building this place, this building. So it's going to be a 3-story building. That's a building that's being built here, just next to us.
Okay. The question is, how will you fund a project like this?
Okay. What we do is we say there's 2 various companies. We must make sure that the Orania is growing. We are not in the...
okay.
So we rent this building from another company, and that company just make economic sense. In other words, yeah.
They've built their own health facilities, and each facility is equipped with ambulance. But if the case is beyond them, they will airlift you to the general hospital in South Africa.
The helipad, we have a helipad here that can be used during emergencies. We have situations where we needed a helipad to do recons around the area, but also if there are medical emergencies where people need to be moved to hospital, we can airdrop them, we can bring in the helipad. We also have the ambulance services that help us, so we can move people to hospitals if they need to.
Orania got its own bank, and what really shocks me to see that they trade in their own currency, popularly known as the Ora. The Ora, their local currency, is used within the community to keep the money circulating among residents. Which one is the highest denomination?
So it's easy to distinguish from the rand. The 200 is the highest in value, and it goes all the way to 10 Ora. So you get the 200, 100, 50, 20 and 10, just like the rand currency.
So exchange rate?
Exchange rate is 1-to-1, so 1 rand is equal to 1 Ora. It's just to make administration quite easy, but the benefit of the Ora brings a few benefits to Orania.
So the people of Orania trade with Ora?
That's correct.
Will this be relevant when I step out of Orania?
No, because you can only spend it in Orania. Wow. That keeps the economy growing. It also makes it more safe to use, because there's not going to be robberies or theft of the Ora, because you can only use it in Orania. And also it's a cultural emblem for our community.
So I just want to know, is it the same price like they sell it everywhere in the country?
Yes.
That's how it is?
Yes.
And how am I supposed to pay? Rands or Ora?
You can pay in rand or in Ora.
Oh, you accept both currencies?
Yes.
That's impressive. It's surprising to see that a town of about 3,000 people have their own manufacturing plant, to the extent that they manufacture things within this town and then sell it to the people out and within South Africa.
produce here, we design and manufacture here, and then everything goes out with courier, and within a day or two is delivered to the customer's door address. And by doing that, we get customers that live elsewhere in South Africa to support an Iranian business.
So, in order to build the economy of Orania, you have to export products that are made in here, and the money comes back here.
Absolutely, yes.
That's impressive, man. Orania got their own local governance.
I think what is important of it is the fact that it's totally unique.
What makes it unique?
Well, there's no other such town council in South Africa. First, it's free of political parties. There's no political parties in Orania at all. All the people here representing the community are personally nominated and voted for. Secondly, we had a settlement with the South African government in the year 2000 about our status as a municipality, giving us the option to first make our own municipal bylaws as a local government, and secondly to have our own local taxes and levies, which we can use for the development of Orania. So no party politics, no salaries for the elected officials. Obviously the officials, do the head engineer and the head of, you know, roads and those people, they get paid, but the elected officials do not get paid for their service to the community, and that's what makes it a unique.
Is that Oranian flag?
This is our flag, yes, indeed.
Who is that? Who is this young man in there?
This young man is called the Little Giant.
The Little Giant?
Yeah, it symbolizes rolling up your sleeves to work. So, firstly, because of the fact that we're saying we as a culture, no one is coming to save us, no one is going to build a future for us. What we want to build, we'll have to roll up our sleeves and build ourselves. And secondly, the fact that we do our own work is also represented in that. Our goal, our mission here is to preserve our culture, to build something for our culture, to preserve our religion. The question, oh, why can't a black person come here, is not the right question. It's more a question like a marriage between two people. It's an exclusive affair. Doesn't mean you're against anyone else. You take your wife, she's important to you.
Yep.
Or you know, and in your wedding, in your marriage, you're exclusive. Doesn't mean it's not built on hate. It's built on love for our culture. We want to preserve our culture. We want to preserve our traditions, our faith, our language. These are the things that we want to preserve.
But someone might ask, if you want to preserve your culture, you're preserving your culture on a land that belongs to South Africans.
Well, that is another whole other debate. The land here we bought, we paid for it.
From who?
Well, at that stage we bought it from the previous owner, which was the government. Right?
But I don't think an African can leave Africa, go to Europe, and say that we just bought this land and no one is allowed to come in.
My family came here in 1683. Right, my family arrived here. That is longer than American government official visited Orania a while back, and when I told him that fact, he said, well, that's way longer than my white family has been in America. I said, you guys are here in Africa longer than my people was in America.
Yeah.
So our name is Afrikaners, our language is Afrikaans. Right, so we feel part of this continent, and maybe people don't agree, but I don't have another home. Obviously I know that I have European roots.
Yeah.
400 years ago.
Yeah.
For 400 years my people have been here.
Yeah.
I love Africa. I don't want to live anyplace else. I feel a part of this continent. My language grew, obviously from Dutch, but it grew on this continent. This is the place where I feel at home, and I've been overseas. This is the only place that I feel at home, is Africa. Symbolism here. So all of these busts have been either thrown away elsewhere, or they've been either donated or thrown away. And we put them in a half circle back here to represent these men are part of our history. No nation's history is only good, but also no nation's history is only bad. However, all of this is part of our history, and we put it in a semicircle with the symbolism. They cannot look over the edge of the hill. They are in the past, they're part of our history, but they're in the past.
With all the monument that I see in here, would you agree with me if I say that this man performed a lot of atrocities in the past?
Well, I think obviously these are controversial figures, and I think the fact that we put them here in Orania with our own funding, some people are uncomfortable in the rest of South Africa to care for them, to see them in public, and I think that's why Orania is also a solution to a lot of the international conversation about monuments, because this is on private land, private funds, and it's our history.
But I know it's your history. But at the end of the day, a lot of people were harmed in the process. You don't think if you are embracing this, you're definitely embracing apartheid?
Is it okay to celebrate Shaka Zulu, Zulu leader? Do you know who that is?
I know who Shaka Zulu is.
He killed a lot of people. Is it fine to celebrate him?
That's a question for South Africans.
That is a question. This is a question for Oranians.
He was more like the architect for apartheid. Do you agree with that?
I agree with the fact that he implemented a lot of policies in the apartheid era. I think the apartheid legacy comes from the South Africa that the British created in 1910, the legal framework that they created at that stage, and the realities that follow after that. A lot of the South African black people fought on the British side and did not get recognition or the ability to vote after that. Yes, he continued with some policies, he created new ones, but the reality of South Africa in that context was already set there in 1910.
You don't think it's because of this that's why people have problems with Orania? Because of history like this, because so many South Africans are not happy with this history, even though it's part of them. But I believe, like you just said, let the past be past. I mean, we can never forget our history. But I mean, I feel like this being here, it's more like a, what do you call it? Like a sword in the eyes of the people of South Africa.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. We have had from the ANC Youth League, we have had influential South African politicians. We have had 2 state presidents of South Africa. Nelson Mandela landed with his helicopter just there. We have had traditional black communities, Xhosas, Zulus. We have had the people of the Barulong tribe. All of them have been there. I have seen in their eyes no offense. They have expressed no offense. They have embraced Orania as a model that they can learn from, and they understand that we have the right to put our history in a context for our people here, for a way that we can explain it to our children and our grandchildren.
My experience is 2 things I take from Orania. Number 1 is that they're doing it for themselves. And that's the culture that we as black people need to learn fast and hard. They've got white domestic workers, they build that place. You look at Orania and jealous down. What is wrong with Orania for me is the racism thing. What is right is the fact that those people are building a city right in front of our eyes.
The 10-year plan for Orania is to turn this that you see here, to take this from town to city. And true to our culture, we don't want a big city full of skyscrapers. We're going to build no higher than 3 stories. And we will integrate our agriculture with our city. What we want is a city that feels like farm, because we are farm people. We are people who live in the open, like camping and hunting and outdoor activities. So we want a city that feels like a farm, and we're going to build a rural city. That's our dream. Our businesses, our schools, our Afrikaans university, between these agricultural lands here around us.
People out there believe that Orania is a racist model. Do you believe that whatever you guys are practicing here is racism?
I do not believe that we are practicing racism. To tell you the truth, I've said it many times that if the question is, are there racists in Orania, I can assure you there are. There are racists in every town in South Africa and every country in the world you'll find racists. That is a fact. The Orania model is a model of cultural preservation, and that is not racist. So you might disagree with me, but my personal belief, my honest belief, is that the Orania model is not racist at all. It is, however, a model to preserve something that we hold dear and to create a future where we can live our values, our religion, our language, and share our culture.
Who are the people that are not allowed in here?
Well, Afrikaners live here. Afrikaners live here. Afrikaners who embrace the idea of own labor. we embrace our freedom ideals. This is who live here.
If you check when South Africa gained independence, if you check the coat of arms of South Africa, it said there is unity in diversity. Orania is within South Africa, but at the end of the day, I believe what you are practicing in here is not unity in diversity.
I beg to differ.
Can you explain that?
How can there be any diversity in South Africa if cultures are not allowed to be themselves? How can there be any diversity at all? If everyone is the same, there's no diversity. If you have a cultural community and you have the Xhosa people or the Barulong people, and they also embrace their identity, and from a standpoint of knowing who you are, of being proud of your culture, of embracing who you are, you get to a point of self-confidence where you then can put out your hand and say, without anyone forcing us, I can build a diplomatic relationship with this and this, and we can do it on our own terms, community to community. That's unity and diversity. To just write it on a coat of arms doesn't mean anything. To live it by creating your own identity. Identity is needed for diversity. Without identity, there is no diversity.
Based on the conversation we've had so far, I feel like the Afrikaners actually have a problem with the English.
Well, we sure have our historical disagreements. The reason, I think there's a reason for that. The reason for that is the English took us to the brink of extinction. They took us to the brink of extinction. They almost, in the peace negotiations after the Second War with the English, one of the generals said, if we continue this war, we will be genocided off the face of the earth. We cannot continue this war. At that stage, 30,000 women and children were killed in concentration camps. So they took us to the brink of total stopping to exist. So obviously Afrikaners had a historic feeling of being threatened by that. I think that we are past that and so on, but still we have that colonial force of the national government in South Africa trying to make all the schools English, for example. It's not something we agree with.
If you have that problem with English, I guess black South Africans also need to have a problem with you, because at the end of the day, they were enslaved. They went through, I mean, with apartheid that happened, I mean, for me being here, I feel like seeing what I'm seeing, with what you're saying, I feel like Orania is glorifying apartheid.
Then I don't think you understand Orania.
I perfectly understand. I understand whatever you're saying. You don't think?
In the Great Trek, in the wars, many of our people were killed by leaders like Dingaan and Shaka. And you know, and there's the issues with the previous regime as well. So our question now is, are we going to hold this as a tit-for-tat game forever? Orania's way of thinking about that is a very niche model. I don't think it's a mainstream idea of thinking about it, but we have our own way of thinking. We view freedom as not being oppressed by anyone and not oppressing anyone. And I think that's not the reality in South Africa anymore. I think, you spoke about apartheid now, so the systems put in place, what is the difference between having a pass under the apartheid regime to go into a certain place to go work and now swiping an ID card to get into a luxury estate to do people's work? What's the difference? Were you still living in the township? What is the practical difference?
So are you saying that apartheid still exists in South Africa today?
I think the economic equalities based on race in South Africa still exist. And I think the only place where that doesn't exist, because the people do their own work, is here. And I think there is no going forward unless Afrikaners embrace that model. Listen, what you're not going to get in Orania is people falling on their knees, continuously saying sorry for their history. A lot of people apologized on our behalf for everything, and there's a lot of internal Afrikaner friction about that. But in Orania, you will find solutions. Maybe it's not the nice cherry on top stuff, people feel warm in their hearts, Orania is so nice to us, but you will find long-term solutions in terms of labor policies, in terms of community-to-community relationships, and in terms of the way we think.
Listen, I might not agree with the ideologies of the people living in Orania in certain aspect, but I believe that what they've done in here is super impressive, and I feel like other communities within the continent of Africa can embrace these ideas. You know, I've been talking about self-independent, self-sufficient now. I mean, I believe that that's what Kwame Nkrumah's ideology was. And basically, everything is here. These guys don't need to step out of, Orania. They can actually live here and survive. Let's talk about the continent of Africa. When COVID happened, most of us could not even survive because we just depended on the West. We're dependent on China for survival. But I believe that if we start, building our own communities, our own way, knowing that, hey, we're gonna make money and use the money that we make within our community to build our community, I believe that like the entire Africa will be super great, man. What do you think the world can learn from Orania?
I think what the world needs to know about Orania is there's nothing strange about it. It's across the world, you get this whole thing that people come together, and we feel the same as hundreds and thousands of other people. If you look at the country like South Tyrol, they do exactly the same. And I don't think there's anything sinister about it, and the world needs to know that what's going on in Orania is the same what is going on in the kingdom of Zululand or the kingdom of Lesotho or the kingdom of whatever it might be. It's people who feel they need to get together and who think together and maybe work out a better future for themselves.
Alright guys, you have seen the video, and by the way guys, I was actually doing reaction from the very start all the way to the end, but then I don't know, what happened. I can't find the video. Video just disappeared like that. It was a heck of the reaction, you know what I'm saying? But let me just say this, guys. You've seen the video, and I would really love to know what you guys feel, what you guys think. But one point that I can say about the entire thing and this community is that there's a lot of course, the things that are very controversial, but also I think there's a positive sides that we as Africans can learn. A small community of 3,000 people, what they've done to themselves, and their plans to be completely independent and actually not relying on South African, but really just figuring out the ways to develop themselves and how they emphasize on agriculture, and they actually make a way forward to eat. You see health sector, you see education, how they teach their babies. It is very fascinating, It does not really make sense for the rest of Africans, our countries, where we learn in English. It's not our mother tongue language, and the research shows that, if you learn from other language rather than your mother tongue, of course, the level of your understanding and performance is not going to be good as much as you use your own language, you know what I'm saying? And I think it makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Because these are foreign languages, and a lot of time we categorize or we group our kids and our people based on their grades, C, D, E, F, you know what I'm saying? But we do not consider that these kids are actually learning from their, foreign language. It's not really mother tongue language. I believe we can still learn English as a language, just the same way we learn other languages, but not to make it the focal point of our education. The same thing to currency. We don't need to make dollar the focal point of our economy. We need to use our own local currency. We need to improve our own local currency, you know what I'm saying? Just like what this community is doing. These are actually not a new concept, because if you guys have been following us for a while, you know that these are the concepts we always talk about in our community. In order for us to develop, in order for us to develop ourselves, we need to be independent from the West, independent from the East, independent from the Centrals, independent from anybody else. We need to improve ourselves from the within, because that is the only way for us to prosper. That is the only way for us to change the situation in our lives in our continent. But if we keep depending on them, right now you have USAID, they cut their funds, and you know what? A lot of people are freaking out. I see African leaders, and I'm very ashamed by saying this, some of the African leaders who are begging, they're begging the Africans who are living in America diaspora to ask the government of America to actually bring back those aids. We've been talking about this. This is what have been dismantling us. Dead AIDS. This is what have been actually causing all the troubles in the continent. But you have leaders today who are asking for them to return those things. All right, a lot of people lost their job because of that, but we need to reach the point where we can lose our jobs so that we can find jobs that will be conducive for our own people. You know what I'm saying? We cannot keep depending on them. And even myself, you know, I gotta say this, we have to look at 10,000 years to come. Today you have a president like Donald Trump who cut those AIDS, but you don't know tomorrow who you're gonna have. Are we gonna keep depending on them? Are we going to build our economy depends on their economy? If they prosper, we prosper. If there's inflation to them, we're gonna have inflation. If they have deflation, we're gonna have the same thing. No. We need to build our own independent economy so that we may have our own solutions to our own problems and our own contributions, you know what I'm saying? But if we keep depending on them, then we are not really free. I love this guy. I mean, he said one thing. He said that freedom, it means, you know, I should not oppress you and you should not oppress me. It's true, these ideas, like the ideology within this community. The reason why you see this community is moving forward is because the ideologies, what they believe in is really actually working. They say that, okay, we're not racist, we're doing this to preserve our culture. I believe, you know, a lot of actions that are happening there, you know, are racist acts. But you know what? Preserving their culture to the extent where they are okay to be misunderstood by anybody else for the sake of their own culture, that is kind of spirit that I need to see in the African continent. To preserve our culture, to preserve our norms, to preserve our traditions. In our mission, we say it is that defend the image of Africa and bring back the heritage and sons and daughters to the continent, to the motherland. That is the first line of our mission. And then to decolonize the mind through authentic knowledge and to create a bridge for oneness and peaceful Africa. That is our mission as Swahili Nation One Africa. To defend. And these guys are defending their culture. You can argue, you can disagree, you can agree to disagree, you can do whatever you want to do, but man, these guys are on their mission to defend their culture. This guy from the beginning to the end. Okay, now he's talking about these figures, controversial figures, who cause a lot of atrocities across South Africa. And you know what I'm saying? For them, they see them as heroes, regardless of whatever they've done in the past. For us, we might see it differently, but for them, they preserve their own culture. They embrace it. I don't know if they teach their kids what they really did. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, I think it's really important to be, you know, like that. But nobody, you know, talk bad things about their culture. They just talk about, you know, why all of these things happened. But I don't see that in the continent. I don't really see us embracing our culture. I don't see us preserving our culture. But I see us actually being westernized day by day. I see us abandoning our cultures and trying to run away from the continent and go somewhere else to find a better life, while our continent is still bleeding inside out. So leaders and the people of Africa, this video really opened up my eyes. I've never seen anything like this. And shout out to my brother Wode for such a great content, man. This is one of the hell of a video, man. And I gotta give you, you know, high five to that. You've done amazing. And the matter of fact, I'm going to text him just to applaud him, man. And perhaps even, you know, maybe I'll try to call him tomorrow to give him that. But man, this is such a great video. I am really proud of you. And I think these are kind of things we should be learning. You know what I'm saying? The greatest weapon that we can use, that we can have, is knowledge, is understanding. And the greatest weapon that can be used against us is also knowledge and understanding. So we need to be aware of these things and to apply the good things for our own culture. These are not new ideas. These are things that we always talk about, but the problem is we are not implementing them. We're not putting them into action. You look at how they do with agriculture. Agriculture is the backbone of our economy. Yet in the continent, we don't pay attention to that. Today you have people dying because of hunger in the continent that is full of fertile land and rain some season, but you still have people dying. We have all the resources. That's what we always talk about. But how do we transform these resources so that it can be used for our own people? We don't do it. We don't do it. We don't do nothing. So guys, let this be a challenge. This video really challenged me. Regardless of things that I might disagree with them, but really challenged me that it is possible to build a community like that and to be completely independent and to do some good for our own people. So this is the call to black people, whatever you are, man, do something for yourself. If there's a town in South Africa that you're not allowed to live in there, then we as Africans, we really need to build something for ourselves. Because this is our continent. but then we're not allowed to be in some places in our own continent. So this is not me trying to bring about rage and anger, but this is basically me trying to remind my people that we have to do something for this continent, and we have to embrace our culture. That's the best we can do, man. And I'll try. Maybe I'll try to bring on my brother Wode to have this conversation. This is such a great video, and I think we should have conversation around this content that he just released. So guys, let me know in the comment section, what are your feelings, what do you guys feel, what do you guys think, what are your opinions? I just want you guys to go down there and to share your hearts out, man. I'm gonna be reading, and perhaps I'll be coming back with my brother to literally talk about this, man. I'd just love to dive into this content. I think it's very important for our people as well to watch and to learn and to know what we'll do. Guys, shout out to all of you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to follow us, don't forget guys to support these channels through the link in the description. We are trying to hit 500,000 subscribers, so help us to reach that goal as soon as possible. We want to start a journey to 1 million, but we cannot start a journey to 1 million before hitting 500,000 subscribers. So keep supporting us, and we really appreciate for the love and the support. Don't forget to love one another and spread peace wherever you are. One Africa in our generation, one Africa right now. Africa unite.